I'm going to enter this courthouse with my head held high, knowing the actions that I took were not only lawful and legal, but right.
The charges against Governor Perry stem from an incident in April of last year when Travis County District Attorney Rosemary Lemberg, a Democrat, was pulled over for drunk driving. This is police videotape. Her blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal limit. She pleaded guilty, but Governor Perry wanted her to resign. He threatened to cut funding for her office, specifically the Public Integrity Unit, which investigates political wrongdoing. Lemberg refused to step down, and Perry used his veto power to cut $7.5 million from her unit.
We are suddenly awash in reasons to be angry as Americans. A sitting governor is forced to submit a mugshot for a case that is almost universally accepted as weak and politically motivated. An attorney general making comments that would seem to indicate it is more about being personal than enforcing the law. And a president who needs to, in the eyes of many, man up and start killing terrorists. Buckle up, we're going in. A pleasure to welcome to MidPoint, a group we are going to be hearing from an awful lot on this show. Anne-Marie Murrell is the CEO and editor-in-chief. Morgan Brittany is one of the contributors. Welcome the PolitiChicks to the fray here at MidPoint. Ladies, a pleasure to finally see you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get started right out with Rick Perry here. The best mug shot in the world, some people have called it right now. Is it possible here that this mugshot is going to backfire? This is the one thing that will backfire and really help Rick Perry more than hurt him.
What do you think, Anne-Marie?
You know what, for me, I think all of us know that this has nothing to do with legitimate charges against him. This is the left planting the word indictment on a very important person. That's all this is for. And unfortunately, a lot of the uninformed people of America, that's all they're going to see. They're going to see indicted.
Well, let's bring that up here because you talk about the uninformed people of America. No matter what we talk about here on the show, it always seems to that one way or another we come down to personal responsibility. And doesn't it really behoove a lot of people right now, whether they're left or right or whatever they are, to at least find out what's going on here? Because I don't think I've seen out of any 100 articles, maybe 2 that have said that the governor is in trouble here and it's going to be bad for him. People need to look past, boy, and here's that great word we have right now in politics, the optics. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. And I'll tell you, there are so many things. You look at what's going on in this world today and the stories and the scandals, and every time you turn around, there's something else. But I'll tell you what I think is really what's behind this Rick Perry situation. If you notice, he was very strong and very determined on the border situation. He made a decision to send the National Guard. He basically took control over the federal government, and he said, I'm going to do what I have to do for my people in Texas. And that, I think, opened the door for the Democrats to say, we want to turn, they've always said, we want to turn Texas, they want to turn it blue. Well, what are they doing? They're undermining the governor. They're making him look like he's a criminal. This is what their MO is, and it's to create chaos and no other reason. But because Rick Perry stands up and does something for his state, they're going to try to take him down.
Would we agree here that there's as much chance of Texas turning blue as there is of Britney Spears singing Pavarotti on her next CD?
I'm taking this question. I'm a 7th generation Texan. I've lived in California for 30 years. My family doesn't understand it. My ancestors, Captain John Urey, got into Texas 3 years after the Alamo. I have never been prouder of my state than I am right now. I'm honored that Governor Perry is standing up for people's rights, and that's the reason there's such an exodus from California to Texas. They can't allow Texas to succeed. And oh yeah, they are trying desperately to kill her. It's not going to happen.
All right, PolitiChicks, let's move on to number 2 here right now. Certainly most of America is watching what is happening in Ferguson, Missouri right now. It is a tragedy to see what is happening there to that community. But as we've talked about on this show, there's an awful lot underneath. There's a lot of seamy underbelly here. There's an awful lot of racism charges, cops who are doing things wrong, politicians doing things wrong. It goes on and on. But I wanted to get your opinion on what happened here. Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, shows up, decides that he is going to get involved, and his comment here that has got a lot of people fired up is, I am the Attorney General of the United States, but I am also a black man. There are many people saying that was the right thing to say. Some people are saying, wait a minute, it's about the law first, no matter the color of the individual. So where do we sit here on the PolitiChicks side?
Right.
Oh, this is the divisiveness again. This is Eric Holder and Barack Obama's administration trying to divide this country even more. And this is what they do. I was so appalled at what I have seen going on in Ferguson, Missouri. I cannot believe some of the things that have come out of the governor's mouth. I mean, talking about, you know, aggressively prosecuting. This is ridiculous. What happened to the rule of law? What happened to innocent until proven guilty? This is a mob mentality, and it's being fueled even more by Eric Holder saying, I speak as a black man. Yes, we all know that. But this is not what Martin Luther King was all about. This is not doing things peacefully. This is aggravating, antagonizing, agitating, and I think it's more harm, going to be more harm than good. Also, I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that Eric Holder's Civil Rights Department, who is filled with liberals and leftists and people who have even, I think, been brought up on charges, they're the ones that are going to oversee this. I'm a little concerned, and I think the public needs to know this.
Is the concern also there, and again, we always try to get both sides of the story here, but there are those who feel that regardless of what happens, there will be a sacrificial lamb here one way or another. We are hearing an awful lot of stories here right now about the officer involved in the shooting. There are stories right now which are contradicting a lot of what we heard from original witnesses, but there are those people who feel it doesn't make a difference. You have to put somebody to rest here. You have to basically charge somebody, and something has got to happen because it's already been said in that community. If something doesn't happen and if someone doesn't go to jail, this may happen again.
You know the thing, Ed, about this story, if the policeman had been black, if Mike had been white, we wouldn't be talking about this. People are being shot right this moment here in downtown LA. Everywhere in the country, people are being shot. A kid robs something or something happens, people get shot. This is what I believe this story is, and why I think Eric Holder is making such a stand is they're trying to detract attention away from a lot of the other really important stories, including the execution of James Foley, American James Foley. That is what everyone should be talking about right now, as far as I'm concerned. It's very frustrating.
We can't be afraid to stand up for justice. We can't allow people to intimidate the justice system and say, well, we have to indict this guy, even though he's not guilty, even though he didn't do anything, even though he was attacked and he had every right to defend himself. I don't know all the facts. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I want to wait to hear what everybody has to say and see what the grand jury comes back with. But if it's preconceived and it's already written in the book that this guy is guilty and he is going to be the fall guy, whether he did it or not, we are on a slippery slope, and I don't know how we come back from that.
Only got a minute left, and Anne Marie, you touched on the last thing I was going to mention. The president makes his speech about the beheading of James Foley yesterday and then goes out immediately to play golf. I have to imagine that the PolitiChicks have a reaction.
It seriously made me sick because it showed pictures of Obama fist bumping and laughing and smiling. He gave 3 minutes, a 3-minute speech with his golf shirt still on. He had a jacket on over his golf shirt, and then hops back over to Martha's Vineyard, continues his vacation. There is another American who's scheduled to be executed next, and he's laughing. He's showing it's really disgusting, and it's a little terrifying to me where we're going with this lack of leadership, and where does it stop? Who knows?
Yeah, and my first reaction when I watched his 5-minute speech or whatever it was, a 3-minute speech, my first reaction was he looks angry. You know what? I think he was angry because they made him go in there and pulled him off the golf course. I'm sorry to say that, but that's my opinion. I think he was annoyed because for somebody to not even care and to go back out, listen, I don't care what's going on. You have an American who's had his head chopped off, and they said they're coming after the rest of America.
Unfortunately, ladies, we are all out of time.
And pretend like it doesn't.
We're right there. Unfortunately, Morgan, we're going to finish that next time. Morgan, Brittany, and Marie Murrell, thanks so much for joining us. The PolitiChicks will be back, and so will we.